From We Are Spectacular, this is the Spectacular Marketing Podcast, a podcast about everything brand, marketing, digital and social for the food and drink industry and beyond. Today it's a really horrible, wet, cold, drizzly day in Mayfair, and I'm actually looking for a place to camp up, and I've found Old Faithful Pret-a-Manger, so I can actually get some emails done and some brand documents out before a wonderful day of podcasting. Very, very excited about the day ahead, and hopefully you will be too when you hear the episodes. I've went into Pret and it's had a refurb just off James Street. Interestingly, the word natural seems to have been removed, and there seems to be a new design in terms of lots of grey and a blade sign, a projection sign, with just the star on it. So I wonder if the guys are confident enough that they're going to make the move like Starbucks or McDonald's or one of the huge titans out there to just have the symbol. So really interesting one to watch. Today I'm speaking to Andy Young, and Andy is a director at bpesearch, and they've been doing such a great job there. Andy joined in January, and I'd really recommend checking them out if you're thinking about hiring a great new candidate, or also building a team, getting some advice, or you're on the move or on the lookout for a new role yourself. bpesearch are really well established. They also won 4th in the top 100 Sunday Times best companies to work for. So I think they're really sort of walking the talk and doing exactly what they're setting out to do when placing candidates as well. Andy today talks about how you can stand out from the crowd and some real great tips and insight on what the companies are looking for when they're hiring great candidates. As a company, how you can attract, recruit and retain the best talent. And we delve into a couple of case studies there talking about that too. And also we talk about if you buy cheap, you buy twice. So it gives me great pleasure today to welcome to the Spectacular Marketing Podcast, Mr. Andy Young.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Nice to see you again after all this time.
Christ, yeah. How long has it been?
I reckon it's probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
But,
so we're both looking
neither of us
okay
look
on
a day older.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We've always promised this phantom beer. That's
it's even slightly too early, even for me, Mark, at 9:30 in the morning.
I've had a couple already. Living the stereotype. So Andy is the director of BPE, lowercase, search, and he's been a good friend and, actually advisor and mentor and great contact and all these things to help guide me as I've been jumping from job to job, maybe a little too much over the years. So I want to say thank you for that.
Pleasure.
All of your help and advice, which has been super. And I think what Andy's promising for today is free, better jobs for everyone. I think, isn't it? Is that not the promise?
Some of that wording's correct, just in maybe slightly different orders without the word free.
Okay. Never free. So, brilliantly, Andy's come in to see us, and what I wanted to really sort of delve into two things about the job market in general, and we might stray off that subject a little bit. But two of the things I thought might be most useful for, people listening was, one, how to build better teams and how to really sort of think about hiring the right person, structuring, what it's like. That phrase we were just talking about before we came in, the attract, recruit and retain sort of strategy that seems to be the buzzwords right now. And then for anyone, I guess, that's going into work today and feeling a little bit unhappy or a bit unfulfilled, what they can do to get the job that they want and they deserve. So that was part of it. And then we'll both get lots of scribbles. So we'll try and get through. So I guess what I wanted to do, as usual, is start at the start and just talk a little bit about, your journey.
Sure.
So how did you get into this?
Yeah, well,
world?
show me somebody who chose to go into recruitment, and I'll show you somebody who's fairly unusual. It does happen to be fair, but I think you know my backstory, Mark, and I fell into recruitment probably coming up for 15 years or so ago now. So background previously, sales and marketing with FMCG organisations such as Coca-Cola, Diageo, or show my age here, it was Guinness when I joined and Diageo when I left. And some time at United Biscuits, again showing my age in the time past. United Biscuits are no longer United Biscuits, they're now called Pladis.
Terrible name.
So
what happened there?
That's a long story, but
what brand workshop was that?
It's now owned by a Turkish business.
Okay.
So McVitie's is now under Turkish ownership. So some really interesting changes there. But cut a long story short, fell into recruitment actually shortly after my United Biscuits journey, and have never looked back. Absolutely love it because I get the opportunity to still be involved in my old network, understand those businesses or the types of businesses I've worked for previously, and get to understand and know additional businesses, what's going on behind the scenes, and find them great talent. And that is a joy to behold.
Well, I think also, it's like the hardest working man in rock and roll. The hours are long, right, and tough because candidates maybe can't meet you during the day, so you've got a lot of night things, and I always feel for you guys working burning the midnight oil a bit.
I think there's some fairness in that, but I don't kind of look upon that as any hardship or any difference to other industries, really, Mark, to be honest with you. So, and I think as well, if you're working either for yourself or part of a business that understands that people have lives outside of work, then it's really not an issue.
Yeah. Well, that's good. No, I just always felt bad when, I was going for maybe the odd interview now and again. And you're just like, I can't do it till 7. And you're just thinking, this person's like, oh, Christ, I've had
it happens,
10,
but, good people are always worth meeting, right?
So, yeah, true.
I think that's the way to look at it.
True. And then sort of after that, so we met when you were at Stopgap.
Correct.
What was the other part of Stopgap?
It was Fitzroy. Which was the senior.
Did I make it
offering.
to the posher one?
I think you might have done.
Just,
I think you did.
Just snuck in.
I think that was under the guise I saw you. I'm pretty sure. That part of the business is no longer going. So they're just without giving too many plugs to Stopgap. I have to say, still a really good business. And I'd been there nearly 10 years. And thoroughly enjoyed my time and moved on, on very good terms after that amount of time, and find myself now recently installed at bpesearch and loving it. I think just before we started this podcast, I said round peg, round hole. So feels great. So values, behaviours, way of working, all of those things, and ultimately the people, absolutely fantastic. So,
well, there's almost a Watchmen thing with you then. So who recruits the recruiter for the recruitment?
This so many people kind of ask me this. I remember bumping into a guy, so I don't know whether this will stop people listening, but I'm a big Chelsea fan, so season ticket holder, go to away games when I can as well. And I met this guy through a friend, and we were chatting. We were at a game, and for anyone interested, it was when Frank Lampard beat the Chelsea goal scoring record of Bobby Tambling, which goes back many decades. But anyway, I digress. And the guy said to me, "So, who recruits for recruiters?" I said, "Well, it's something called rec to rec, so recruitment to recruitment." He's like, "Okay, I'll get that." Who recruits the rec to recs? So, and it's like, where does this actually stop?
He's in some kind of Inception world.
It's quite, I mean, you've got to kind of draw a line somewhere on this.
Who does the hairdresser's hair?
Well, exactly, on and on. But very amusing.
And then, so when we met, and I was saying to you earlier on, and it was actually in a respectful way, I felt thoroughly schooled, when I walked out of seeing you, and I think I was, bimbling along, sort of coming to see you thinking, this guy's got a job tree and he's just going to pluck one off, and, but, you really asked me some challenging, pokey questions and really made me think about, being, match fit, I suppose, for going to see some of these companies that were going to be a lot more testing than what I was. And I say, I can't remember if I was still at lastminute.com or I was at Yo, or I can't remember, it might have been Yo. But I guess I was feeling like, because I'd been through Barclaycard, I had been schooled reasonably well on the corporate side. So I'm wondering if it's maybe when I was a bit more pink or green at the lastminute.com days, where it was all foosball tables and beanbags.
I mean, it's really nice of you to say that, because I think, there probably is that sense, around that, particularly in the world of it being, super competitive out there. You have to add value to your clients and candidates, and if you're not doing that, then you're not giving people a reason to use you, and ultimately, to be able to bill clients for work well done. So I think you have to challenge your clients, you have to challenge your candidates. And it sounds like we had a conversation that made you feel suitably challenged.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's then what made you go, well, I'm going to go and do my own thing rather than go into another kind of client-side marketing job. But I think you have to really help people discover, what they really want to do, and kind of unearth some, maybe even some basic insights about, what their motivations are, what their needs are and wants. And I think that's also about not finding just the right sort of job for them, but finding the right sort of environment for them as well, culturally. And I think that maybe is a piece that's often missed. And I think employers and candidates alike could really benefit in just spending more time around those kind of softer elements to understand, where's the right place for them.
Definitely. No, I think it did make me think, and yeah, you helped make me unemployable, which was fun.
Pleasure.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So then, in terms of the industries that you're covering, then what's the gamut?
Okay. Well, at bpesearch, I guess do you see that plug there?
I did. Keep going. Are you up for a sponsorship?
we have two. Well, we've got bpesearch, which is our executive search business, and then Better Placed Recruitment, which is what I guess I would call our core recruitment offering, that will typically recruit for roles either on a contingent or exclusive basis. And then the search side of the business will recruit senior and executive roles on a retained basis. And broadly speaking, pretty much most of what we do and specialise in is around the consumer sector. So sales and marketing roles and functional roles that are associated within that sales and marketing framework. So, innovation, for instance, consumer insight and planning, etc., would be all relevant roles that we would recruit for. At my end of the business within BPE, then typically we're recruiting for roles at kind of 80, 90k up to about 250k. What does that mean in terms of, titles and levels? It means typically sales and marketing director types, I guess, are a real sweet spot for us. Innovation directors, and then that's moving through to commercial directors. So somebody who would, have the overarching kind of sales and marketing functions reporting into them, and the P&L for that, and then also upwards from there, GMs, managing directors and so on. I guess what we're trying to do is more and more of the senior stuff. Historically, there's a lot of kind of established, very conservative search firms out there that still kind of are very traditional and have done it the same way for years, and I think sometimes that's really quite challenging and uncomfortable for some organisations to kind of think outside of that. But we're there to kind of challenge and give people a new way of doing things at that end of the market.
Well, it's quite interesting. I mean, we get asked quite a lot actually. At one point, I actually considered, sort of start spectacular recruitment, because we'll just get asked so much for, do you know anyone good that, you know. The difficulty is, like, in food and drink predominantly, where we tend to play, they don't have the money for the team. They want one person that does everything. Yeah. And I think that human being is so hard to come by, because they want someone that is numbers focused, yet creative, yet can run agencies, but then is strategy and execution and knows digital inside out, and you're just going, it's like the equivalent of trying to find a unicorn. It's just the hardest thing, but they keep coming back. And actually, there's a few regrets I've had actually where people have said, can you recommend someone? And I have, the odd time, and it's not went brilliantly. So it's just like,
so you didn't tell them to call me, no?
I don't. Well, I'm gonna because because you just you think, yeah, they were nice, or they're a nice person, or they've done great things, or and you put them forward, and it's a car crash. You're like, oh, and then no one wins because it's your reputation. So I don't envy you, from that point of view, because again, someone could interview brilliantly, and then once they get in, they can fall away.
You make a really good point. First of all, I just realised I didn't answer your question around kind of sectors and so on.
That's
so
right.
I said, consumer sector, but within that, it won't surprise you to learn that a lot of what I do is within classic FMCG. That's my background. That's where a lot of my network lie. But beyond that, a lot of retail, leisure, entertainment, and a couple of areas where I'm really keen for us to get more into as a business, and it will kind of sound pretty obvious when I say it. One is within direct to consumer. So, businesses like, again, stating the obvious here, but Just Eat, for instance, we should be, doing more with businesses like that that have just kind of reinvented things over the years. And then also there's probably not such a clever link from Just Eat, but there's a huge macro trend now in terms of healthier, better for you trends, whether that's food or whether it's just, wider kind of health and wellness. And I think, we need to be working with businesses and candidates who are, within that space, because that's kind of here to stay, certainly. Definitely. As far as I can see. Yeah. Hence the bike rides in the morning.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is it invisible today, though?
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Yeah. But coming back to your unicorn point, I think that's particularly challenging for SMEs. I'll work with some big corporates, but at the same time working with either, if not a startup, something pretty close to it, and businesses with, say, 3 to 5 million turnover looking to scale up. And these guys, frankly, they've got a recruitment fee to consider if they're going to work with me. And I understand that can be challenging. And then, the absolute critical piece of hiring somebody who they, hope are going to bring all of those kind of rounded skills and wants that they need to in a role. And therein lies the challenge, and I think that's where I think somebody, who knows the market and knows, their candidate base and the skills that they can bring. I think that's where you have to be also honest with the client and say, yes, they can bring A, B, and C, and those are the most important things for you for this role. As far as D&E are concerned, they're probably going to, not be so strongly dialed up on. And you kind of, if you can find someone with all 5, then great. But I think for the most part, I think it's important for the client to understand that if a candidate is coming in and they tick 5 boxes out of 5, what's the candidate going to get from doing that job if they're doing everything to a level already, rather than coming into a role where they know they'll feel confident ticking 3 boxes out of 5, and they can therefore demonstrate their worth and their value to a business. But if they also have the opportunity to be exposed to the other 1 or 2 pieces where, they're not at the top of their game, but they'll have either somebody in the business who will, they'll be able to learn from to a degree, or just be kind of thrown into the deep end, but with the understanding from the business, we know you still got to get there. And I think that's really important because, for the most part, candidates want to, be confident, but also, feel challenged and learn at the same time. So I think that's really key. When clients say, I want somebody who absolutely nails everything, they need to ask themselves, are they going to get bored? And therefore, am I going to have a vacancy again in 12 months' time and actually then be spending more money bringing somebody else in to replace them?
Well, I mean, it's a big concern because I don't mean anyone worth their salt, but a lot of people are on 3 to 6 monthers if they are a superstar or they're tied in or coming from good stock. Then you've got to wait for that. Then you've got to then test them once they're in, or at least see how they go. I mean, I don't mean test, but so that's another 3 to 6, and then all of a sudden it's a year and it might not have worked out. So it's quite daunting, as an employer myself. But I think also, in terms of, back to the kind of SME food and drink people, they've probably got about 40 to 60 grand. And one of the questions we get asked quite a lot is, should I hire a marketing director or someone kind of quite, heavyweight, or should I maybe go for 2 slightly more junior. And I think with a lot of the clients that we have, they sort of need execution, you know, because I think the problem, you know, a marketing director naturally isn't going to want to do everything. They're the conductor of the orchestra rather than, you know, the lead violinist. So, you know, it's quite an interesting sort of dilemma so many have got when they're contacting us going, do you know anyone that A, is a unicorn, but B, we're not sure what level to pitch this at. And I think 60s, that middle ground as well, they've not quite, you know, so you're going to be lucky to get someone that's going to make it to the 90s and where you're at. So it's a real
it's really tricky, and I think, you know, I don't envy clients in those sorts of situations. What I would say is just on, you know, we're talking, I think, largely about SMEs here. And for me, I think, you know, apologies to some of the big corporates out there, but they're the ones I love working with because you can see the business kind of evolving in front of your eyes, and it is really exciting. And I love that. And I think then when it comes to finding talent for these people, it is really about getting granular. You know, what are the real business challenges and issues for them that enable you to, I suppose, give them the right counsel to give them a sense of shape and size of person coming in, i.e. seniority or you know, perhaps more mid-level. A lot of the time, you know, they do need those more senior types, a bit of experience, somebody who has, you know, got a few miles under their belt. And, you know, the flip of that is they're more costly. Or certainly, you know, in the immediate sense, they're more costly, but actually will they bring more payback longer term? And I think then it's about identifying individuals who are genuinely motivated about making that transition, perhaps from a big corporate, and they want to, you know, come out of that, you know, I sometimes call it template city, but, you know, quite often siloed or overly kind of processed and structured environments, and they're ready to be kind of let off the leash and liberated. And I think as long as, you know, they're clear about what their motivations are, and you have a clear sense that they're not going to fall over without that structure and process, and they kind of look at that and go, bloody hell, a blank sheet of paper, bring it on, as opposed to, oh, what, like, you mean I will have to make my own tea? And
I don't have a team, you know.
Exactly. So if somebody goes, so I won't have a team, but I'll be able to kind of ramp up the business and do the dirty work myself to be able to build a team for the future, bring it on. Then you know you've kind of got somebody who's got something, you know, real about working in that sort of environment. And you know, there's you know, some recent examples where I've worked with those types of businesses. So, you know, between 5 and 10, 15 million, who, you know, need that sort of person. But I think it's then helping educate them that they probably do need to pay a little more. I'm generalising here, but to bring somebody in at that slightly higher level who can, you know, just add more value more easily from day 2 or 3 rather than day 10. Kind of thing.
Well, it's that whole buy cheap, buy twice sort of thing, you know?
Listen, I mean, it's a bit of a sore subject for me, but my car is in the garage as we speak, right? Okay. And it's just a second-hand car that I bought, and it's, you know, there's a song about this car, a famous song you might remember, and the second word is Benz, but it kind of makes it sound very posh. It's not. It's an old knackered second-hand car, and it's a classic example of you typically get what you pay for. Yes. And my car was in the garage this morning, and I'm going camping at the weekend, and I don't have a car. I've now got a van sat outside my house ready to go, and that's just it's a false economy mark. It's just cost me a few more quid than it should have if I'd have spent maybe more money on the car in the first place.
Time machine. We need
crap
a time
analogy
machine.
Maybe, but
no, we need a time machine for that. So then thinking about, like, what are you looking for then? So when you're reaching out to, you know, is there a few things that you're looking for, or, you know, segments of when someone comes in to see you or you go and meet them?
In what way? From a candidate point of view?
Yeah.
I think it all comes back to the brief. And it may be kind of similar when you're working with clients, you know, how do you go about answering the brief? Just really, you know, making sure the brief is really clear and you get the key parts of it. But so, you know, when it's actually meeting people specifically for an assignment that I'm working on, then, you know, you are being very specific because, the client has been ultra kind of clear in what their needs and wants are and what great looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, I think where it's right and proper to do so, I'm very happy and comfortable challenging our clients, but we'll get to a point and agree this is what great looks like, and therefore I'm meeting people based on that. So that's against an assignment that I would be working on. Outside of that, what I'm looking to do is build my network each and every day, week, month, year, expanding my network across the space that I'm working in. So, when I'll have people through my network refer me to good people who should be in my network, then I'm meeting them because they either work in the sector and the space that I do, or they're looking to move into it. And I think that second piece, I think, is often quite challenging for candidates where, in my old world of FMCG is supremely guilty of this, which is we want somebody who's already got our sector experience, in fact, looks exactly like the people that we've got in here at the moment. And if they haven't got that, then frankly, we're not really interested. And I think for candidates who want to move into a new sector, I think that's tough when, a lot of the time they will have the transferable skills, but in the marketplace that we're in at the moment, which is, a bit challenging, well, frankly, for everybody, I'm not just talking about candidates here, for clients alike as well, then it tends to be a lot more prescriptive.
It's getting quite risk averse.
Yeah, I think so. And actually, funnily enough, probably more, this is in my experience, so I'm not saying this is the case everywhere, but certainly in my experience, I think I'm seeing more of the bigger businesses being, a little bit more conservative and risk averse, and certainly slower in making their big hiring decisions, because as we were talking about before we came into the podcast here, there's this kind of macro stuff going on. No, actually, it's finally it's more than macro, but it's very real and live. The whole kind of Brexit thing that's going on at the moment, whichever side of the fence you sit on, is causing uncertainty, and I think some decisions are being slowed down as a result of that. Whereas again, coming back to my love affair at the moment with SMEs, these guys they just have to carry on. They can't sit there and navel gaze, because if they do, they don't exist.
I think there's a lot of excuses going on right now because of Brexit as well, which is saying, oh, we can't do that because of that, or in our sector, rates are going up, or this or that. I think you can only control what you can control. Whatever the outcome of Brexit is, not many of us can do much about it. So I think you just got to crack on, as the SMEs are doing, just
I hear you.
Keep
and
fighting.
I hear you, but I think it is, a well-known coffee chain, my favourite, but I won't mention it. One of their senior leaders just the other day said to me that, within, and these aren't roles that I work on, but I need to understand their business. And the fact is, on the shop floor, in their outlets, getting good staff with a combination of the kind of early impact of Brexit and the national living wage, for instance, it's tough. Yeah, it's really tough, and it hasn't even happened yet, right? So I think that is a consideration. I'm not seeing it impact on my kind of day-to-day recruitment. Let me be clear about that at the moment, but it's certainly, I think, causing that uncertainty I mentioned before.
And what about the client side of things then? So, are you seeing sort of trends in terms of what they're looking for? Because we go through waves, at We Are Spectacular, in terms of its employee engagement at the moment seems to be a big thing for us. And then for a while there, it was local marketing, and then before it was a bit of brand and social and digital. So, it goes in waves, but, are you seeing a groundswell or a trend of what people are looking for specifically at the moment? Is it more sales, or is it more marketing, or more brand? Or
I think it's all fairly equal in terms of those functional hires. I think what we are seeing a clear indication of is, we're well into the digital age now, and you have companies now, say on the marketing side, looking for, yes, you're kind of digital and e-commerce specialists, but actually more broadly than that, they're saying, I need somebody, who's kind of more multi-channel in their thinking and their knowledge. If you take that onto the sales side, back in the day when I was, calling on customers who don't exist now, like Summerfield or QuickSave, these guys, it was just bricks and mortar. Yeah. Now you've got clients coming to us who need people who understand the e-com world, can have sensible conversations with the Tesco e-com team, go and speak to Amazon and so on. And there's, and I think it's these people just don't grow on trees, because we're still kind of in an early stage of it all.
I think it's hen's teeth a bit for people that really know. The amount of people you meet that are digital or a social media manager or guru, as some people are calling themselves. Yeah. You're really like, you're nowhere. And I think we, myself, Suzanne, back at We're Spectacular as well, and a few others of us, were so lucky because we grew up at lastminute.com. We didn't know anything else, So, that of all jobs, that really taught you not to freak out, because at the moment we've got so many clients freaking out. Oh, what about social, and is email dead, and Facebook's gone, and it's just like, just chill. It's just another marketing channel.
Correct.
Just calm down.
But because they don't maybe use it personally or whatever, then they don't understand it, and therefore it's this big kind of scary thing.
We're running a course the other day for social. There's a couple of thing up in Birmingham.
For your clients?
Well, it was for it was called the MIA, which is like a Meetings Industry Association or something like that. And they invited all their clients. So I guess it's a bit of new biz, And we did the thing. And even in the room, you're saying, who's not on Facebook? And some of the younger people were putting their hand up. And it's like, even if personally you don't want to be on Facebook, you've got to understand how it works, and a couple of the older people in the room, they're not on Twitter, for example, and you're like, put your personal stuff aside. You've got to know that.
Agreed.
You've got to be deep in it,
Although younger people now are kind of, if not boycotting Facebook, although I think there's an element of that, but rejecting it because the parents are doing it, so it's like not the place to be. But
just sign up with a fake account, so you can just excavate.
I think if you're a marketeer, absolutely.
You've got to be curious, haven't you?
I agree.
Got to be. But no, it was quite interesting. Just that sort of mix in the room, and a couple of things, and I love sort of seeing the faces going. And there's a graph we put up, and it says monthly active users on Facebook. I mean, slightly old data now, but 2 billion monthly active. So everyone's like, Instagram and Snapchat, and you're like, well, this is going nowhere right now. And then YouTube's always a huge one as well. Everyone forgets about YouTube. So I think the content thing's going to be quite interesting. But we overran massively because we had so much to say about it. So we're sort of locking the room door.
But back to your kind of people having that kind of digital knowledge and capability. I think. It is now just, a channel, whereas, back in the day when I started in marketing, it was kind of it was TV, it was outdoor, radio, maybe some events here and there. That's kind of basically it. So now it's just about, new channels that, people consume in a slightly different way. So I don't think it's saying to all marketers out there, you have to be an absolute guru at this. It's about, understanding who your consumers are. Knowing your brand, having the kind of capabilities from a functional point of view.
The capability of it. That's all you need to know. So, even if it's someone else in another department or agency that does it, you've got to know that it can target in that way or do that thing.
And know enough so your external agencies don't bullshit you.
Yeah, well, that's what we talk about, because you've either got the 60-year-old white male, whatever, as a CEO at the top, and his only frame of reference is a 14-year-old daughter that he's got about social. And then you've got an agency probably taking the piss out of you, excuse my French. So, and then you've got someone in the middle that's trying to kind of navigate both, but if you understand the capability and you understand the ROI of it, then you can just be smarter, so And
you used the C word earlier, curious. I think if you've got...
Wondered what you were going to say there. I was like, wow, I don't remember that.
So I think, if you're curious, then you're going to, ask lots of questions, and most of them will be the right questions, and you kind of then discover, don't you? And I think it's not, knowing that whole kind of digital space, yes, in part maybe is skill, but actually it's knowledge acquisition and being curious.
Definitely. And then, so in terms of sort of other challenges the clients have, we've touched on Brexit and all the rest of it. Are you seeing sort of any other challenges for them in the market, when they're trying to hire and attract the right candidates?
Well, I guess, I think employers now are becoming smarter at retaining people. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges now, is that I haven't yet met a client, certainly not that I can remember off the top of my head now, who's briefed me and said, average is fine, Andy. Yeah, just find me average. So everybody wants the best.
Sure.
Yeah. And whatever the best is in their mind. So with that in mind, it tends to be, as a general rule, that the best people are typically in jobs, typically in jobs they're enjoying, and they're doing them well. And if they're doing them well, largely they're well rewarded for that. Often, at a senior level, with some sort of long-term incentive plan that's tying them in very nicely, thank you. So I think, therefore, employers, the ones who I think are overcoming some of those challenges are doing a number of things. One is getting their employer brand right from an inside-out point of view. So how people are perceiving their brands.
Have you got any sort of examples of someone you think's smashing it at the moment in that area?
Well, I would say, probably old school business in a sense, in terms of most of their brands have been around for years, and they're significant large scale, would be someone like Diageo. So they are, for a lot of marketeers, a destination employer brand, without a doubt. In part, that's because they have a brand portfolio to die for, some outstanding brands, and they've had a habit of attracting really good people over the years. And also what they've done really well is, talk in the right way externally about, be it responsible drinking, be it some of the marketing they've done, and I think being holistic in their approach, which includes then the way that they recruit. And I'll be honest with you, most of their recruitment that I see them doing is direct. So there's a new kind of route to market there that's kind of here and present, and I think that has enabled a large-scale business like that to be consistent in their message when they're going to market, about what they're about, their values and ways of working. And Diageo have kind of projected this, whether it be marketing, whether it be selling, the Diageo way of doing things. So there's a real kind of sense of purpose, I think, about the business. I think another one at it's really quite strange. I'm staying with alcohol here, but don't judge me. BrewDog. So a business that I think has built a brand based on real purpose as an employer, and it's not just about the consumer brand, but the way they do things. So I don't know whether you've used the word unicorn earlier. They've got what they call a unicorn fund. I don't know whether you've heard about this.
Yes, I've heard something about it, but yes.
So every year they've now committed for every year forever. They have said that they are going to contribute 20% of their profits every year to two causes. The first half of it to their employees, and split equally amongst their employees, and the second one, the second half of that 20% to charities that will be decided by their teams of employees. So I think those two things. If you're cynical, and I am, I suppose, but I think I'll make an exception on this one. You could just call it, some just very smart CSR work. I think it's more than that. I think I used the word purpose just before. I think so there's a real purpose to what they're doing there, and
it's like anti-establishment.
Well, that's how they kind of been built as a brand, isn't it? But I think as an employee, if you're in that environment and you're seeing that you're kind of getting some extra personal benefit from a business that's also kind of giving back to something else you believe in, then and I don't think it's altruistic. I think it's much more than that. So
I think the Sex Pistols, they mean it, man. You know, God Save the Queen, they mean it, man.
Yeah,
I think they genuinely mean it.
Yeah,
and I think also look at the opportunities for the teams now.
Yeah.
Internationally, you can work in the beer or you can work in the bars.
Yeah.
There's all these other things going on as well.
Yeah.
So, I think they've got this quite amazing ecosystem now.
Yeah.
That now it feels like you've got somewhere to go. It's not a glass ceiling of a small brewer.
Agreed. Yeah.
Which I think is pretty.
And maybe that will be kind of the next watch out for a business like that as they continue to expand and grow. How do you kind of stay true to who you were and why people joined you in the first place?
But I think James and Mark, is it Martin? I think they're doing a sterling job in leading from the front. So
very visible.
My God, and just the content they're doing and the crazy stunts, and so I think if they're living it almost as personal brands to a certain extent and celebrity, really, then that's going to have the rub off. As long as definitely what you're saying. The hygiene factors and the emotional factors of being an employee of Brewdog are right too. So if that's all balanced, then I think they are the large alternative to all the other beers out there. So I think they're doing a fab job.
So sorry for those two kind of alcohol infused examples, but those are the ones that kind of spring to mind off the top of my head. But I think there'll be loads more when I walk out of this this recording period and go, what about
just send me a voice memo from your phone.
Happy to do that. Now I would bpesearch has got to be in there somewhere, Mark, because we came fourth in the Sunday Times Best 100 Small Companies to Work For. We did.
Is that right?
I'd only been there 6 weeks.
Wow, what
an impact.
And then the year before you were nowhere. Very good. Well done, you.
So we're all thrilled. So really good. Yeah. So
who was number one?
Do you know what?
Who are you chasing?
I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. So the event was back end of January, and so it was the top 50 were invited to this event.
Yeah, we had a couple of clients in it. Yeah,
and I think it was they announced when the team arrived that they would only be kind of bringing up the top 5. So I think what I heard was our team who were there kind of, if not switched off at that point, just thought, we're here, we're going to have a beer and a nice meal, enjoy it. And number 4 called out.
Oh, I'm so pleased for you. And what better company to get that? That's it's part of your livelihood and your universe, which is
so great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
And then so a phrase that we're getting, talked to about quite a bit is attract, recruit and retain. So we've sort of touched on some employee and experience stuff in the employer brand and employee brand, and I'm never sure which way around it is. I think it's both, isn't it? But yeah, just what do you think about an attract strategy? What would any advice be to people to get you standing out from the crowd as a company?
Yeah, I think, I would probably advise people to have thinking about how they've recruited people in the first place. So, the people that are in their business now, why are they in the business? Yeah. What do they do to bring them in? What did they promise to do when they brought them in? What was on offer? But I think there's a couple of things that would come to mind here. One is just be authentic, have a vision and share that with people in terms of where you are going, where you want to be and how you're going to get there. I think then importantly, how that person that you're looking to hire can help be part of getting you there. And then, but, be honest, be authentic, so share some of the kind of the frustrations and the warts that are going on in the business, because we all know that for the most part, organisations are not perfect. Yeah, so some are better than others, some are closer to perfect than others. But I think if you're really honest about, approaching people, whether it be through someone like ourselves, or you aim to go direct, or heaven forbid, just do something on LinkedIn and sit and wait, then just be really honest about who you are. I'm not saying you have to go and wash any dirty linen in public, but when you've got somebody you want to bring into the business, talk to them about some of those frustrations, talk to them about, how maybe they can help play a part in that. Because I think then when you've got somebody who's, engaged and sees you as open, transparent, authentic and so on, they're going to probably want to work for you even more, I would suggest. And then when they do get over the threshold, there's no nasty, horrible surprises. It's kind of, it can, just only reinforce why they joined in the first place. I know that bit over there is going to be frustrating. So I don't know, really poor CRM system that's got legacy issues and so on and so forth. But fine, we've kind of got a plan to sort that, albeit, further down the road. In the meantime, I've got this and this that I'm going to own and lead and so on and so forth. So I think it's a whole host of number of things, but sticking with the attraction piece, I mentioned LinkedIn there for instance. I think for me, in terms of how we as a business engage with people and then go and talk to them about our clients and the opportunities within them, it has to be about relationships, because if I put myself back on the client side, sales and marketing fence, then doubtless I'd be being inundated, it's just assuming I was any good, from recruiters and employers, saying here's a job, here's a job, here's a job. I'm just not sure that's as a sole strategy the best thing to do, and I see and hear a lot of that going on, and I think it's just a lot of white noise for candidates. So therefore the relationship bit, building trust, being knowledgeable, offering counsel, and helping steer someone to a place where they're going to be happy and fulfilled, are all kind of key components, rather than just being very transactional.
Well, it's almost a story content strategy for people, in terms of showing the warts and all the things that you were talking about earlier. And and as you say, wouldn't it be great if an agency was just honest for once? Let's say if it was a marketing agency you were recruiting for, and it's someone just going, we lost a pitch today and we're gutted, and actually the reason we lost it was we need someone that can do this. Can you do that? And which agency ever puts up lost a pitch? No one does it. Do you know
what, I wish I could remember who it was now. I remember seeing I think it was just a marketing press ad, basically saying, this is us, this is who we are, this is what we're great at, here's some of the things we're not so great at, and that's why we need you to come in.
Oh, brilliant.
I wish I could name them now. I think
it's smart.
That is smart. I think
it's smart, because when you go in for interviews and and the classic phrase, there's no politics here.
There
right.
Will be,
and everyone's smiling like this fake kind of, and you're like, oh no, it's going to be trouble, don't you? You're just like, oh man. So a couple of final things, because I know you need to scoot in a wee sec. So was just thinking about any advice for candidates then to stand out in terms of, I think there's been quite a shockwave in terms of the digital age, in terms of what CVs look like now. When I was a boy, you're buying the nice courier paper and all that stuff, off-white, and 1 page, 2 page, max, and all that jazz. Just any tips on CV, because now it's infographics and videos and cool things, and someone got a job the other week because they mimed on the front of a photoshopped Kendrick Lamar album and rapped their CV and they got the job. So what you can.
Oh, crikey! I'm not going to give any advice on CVs. I think that's a whole other topic. And I suppose, rightly or wrongly, because I'm kind of working more at the senior end, I guess I see some fairly kind of typical traditional kind of CVs. But what I would say on CVs, just keep it really nice and simple. Don't it's a selling tool to get you the interview, not get you the job. So
that's a good tip.
Less is more. Yeah. So as a recruiter, or if you think of a hiring manager or an HR director with a CV in front of them, if you can kind of decipher the key bits pretty quickly, you're more likely to go, right, need to get this person in. Yeah. So I think don't go chapter and verse. Whether it's 2 or 3 pages, frankly, I don't care.
Yeah.
But can I read it easily? Can I work out some sort of clear path, that you've done in your career, and what are the kind of the key bits that you're really pleased about and that is going to make an employer go, okay.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So that's my piece on CVs very quickly. I think, but I think other advice that I would give, assuming the functional skills and experiences there, whether it be a sales or marketing role, for instance, then let's take that as a given. I think though, recruiting at the senior end, if it's about making a difference and standing out versus some very stiff competition, I think if you've got good leadership and stakeholder management skills, they are worth and can be they're worth their weight in absolute gold. Mark, because more and more I think businesses are really wanting to find those rare leaders. And I'm not just talking about having big teams of people and stripes on your arm. I'm talking about people who can build strong relationships, up, down, sideways, across and throughout an organisation, so that they're able to, get stuff done, not just through their own role and responsibilities, but by getting people on board to their ideas, their objectives, what they're trying to do, in their part of the business. And if you can do that, inspire and influence and motivate, then I think that's just such a rich skill to have. So
I think that will take you far in life, and I think, going back for me, I was at lastminute.com, a 360 got done, and that was a big part of the 360 was I don't take anyone along the journey with me.
Okay.
I just shock and awe.
Yeah.
I'll go and just get it done with or without you, don't care. And having that realisation has really, has helped me and others as well. I know where put yourself in that position where you're going to have to, as you say, inspire, inform, bring people with you, and because you won't get it done on your own, you can only go so far, and then you'll bungee back to where you were.
If you're a one man band on your own, then that's kind of fine.
Yes,
but you still then have to convince your clients of coming along with you, don't you? So.
Definitely. Well, listen, I know you need to scoot, so thank you so much for coming in and all your great advice and surviving the sweat box that is our studio.
It is warming up now, isn't it?
Yeah. So thanks so much for coming in, and we will get that beer.
We will.
Not right now.
Done deal. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Care.
A huge thank you to Andy Young, who is a director at bpesearch, for coming in to impart some knowledge on what great companies are looking for and what you can do to stand out from the crowd to ensure that you get the job that you really want and the job that you really deserve. Please make sure you share, subscribe, and leave a comment, rate and review the Spectacular Marketing Podcast. We would really, really appreciate that. Thanks to anyone who's done that already. Also, a huge thank you to Gaz, Gabby and Mihal for all of their hard work in putting the Spectacular Marketing Podcast together. I'm Mark McCulloch, and this was Spectacular.